thought it useful to go back and read the original reason why we do this. This is the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000, and that's really where this all began. And I think it is useful to remind us why we're here this morning, why we're gathered in this room, and what the United States government and the people of the United States are really trying to express in this area. And I think if you go back to the preamble to this act, I think it really sums it up well. It says, the purpose of this act is to combat trafficking in persons, a contemporary manifestation of slavery, whose victims are predominantly women and children, to ensure just and effective punishment of traffickers and to protect the victims. And then I want to read just one more line for this. As the 21st century begins, the degrading institution of slavery continues throughout the world. That is why we are here this morning. The act goes on to require that the State Department prepare this annual report to make an assessment of how governments around the world are taking action to address this. And I think it's really through actions what this act motivated and what the State Department is doing as it meets this obligation is we're identifying first where the problems are. How do the problems manifest themselves? Because they continue to evolve and take on new characteristics. How do we then work with governments to cause them to put in place laws that allow them to then pursue those who participate in these various forms of human trafficking? How do we encourage governments to enforce those laws and actually begin to hold people accountable? And lastly, how do we create the conditions where the victims or the potential victims of human trafficking are able to come forward in a non-threatening way and help us understand better how this is occurring? And it's really the results of what we do that matter. The report is an important tool to help us understand and help us help other governments understand. But at the end of it, it's the individual, it's the victim, and our ability to prevent others from being victimized. Human trafficking is as old as humankind, regrettably. It's been with us for centuries and centuries. But in the expression of this act, as I read that one line to you, it is our hope that the 21st century will be the last century of human trafficking, and that's what we are all committed to. Regrettably, our challenge is enormous. Today, globally, it's estimated that there are 20 million victims of human trafficking. So clearly, we have a lot of work to do, and governments around the world have a lot of work to do.